Alright, I'm going to do the syllabus for ITC 220, and this is for the SQL class. I will be online this quarter. This class works pretty well online, but you'll have to see. If you have questions or troubles, you can always get hold of me. So when we get down, my office is there, but I won't be there much. So generally, when you want to get hold of me, email me, and I'll get back as soon as I can. And also, you can use the discussion app to ask questions, and other people can maybe help reply too. I'll show that in a moment. This is my email. There is a blog for this class. If you go there, it has different commands that we did for the for the different assignments when I did do them in class. There's also YouTube videos, right? And you don't have to worry about finding them though, because I've linked them to the assignments and to the modules. We'll look at that next. So we're going to learn SQL to retrieve database information, SQL to modify database data, SQL to create database objects. This part we're actually not going to do. I'm not going to do any XML, but we will troubleshoot and document code. Alright, so generally you want to read the chapters, watch the videos, and do assignments. You can email me questions or ask them in Canvas discussion forum. The textbook is included as PDF files on the Google Drive. Each assignment has a link to the relevant chapter, and you can access the whole folder here, so I will go there real quickly. And I'll just quickly click on Chapter 1. So this is a book that I'm writing for, it's going to be published by, brain just fart. Anyway, it's going to be published. I have a publisher for it. And these are the chapters. They're not in their final form. They're still a little bit draft. And there are, after all of the text, there's assignments at the end. Alright, so every chapter is linked, every assignment is linked to the appropriate chapter, and they're all also available here in the folder. Alright, so there's a lot of other information here in terms of other course things. I want to talk a little tiny bit about basically, you just continue to work on your assignments. You can watch the discussion board and watch for alerts. The daily assignments are worth 80%. The midterm and final are worth 20%. Now, the midterm and final are just quizzes, multiple choices, and you get 3 tries. So, and it's open book, open internet. Even if worst case scenario, you can even ask me a question. So they're just meant to reinforce the concepts. So you can always do, you can do them multiple times. They should not be a problem, nothing to panic about. When you do an assignment, there's always a rubric for each assignment. If I take points off, I will always provide an explanation. You can always correct the problem and resubmit it to get full points. I don't take points off for late assignments, but it's best not to fall too far behind. Okay, so let's look at modules. So in the modules, I have some basic setup stuff. One of them is set up Postgres and class databases. That's the one thing that you will need to do. So let's do a new page here. You will need PG Postgres, QL basically, and PG admin. They're usually downloaded together. Alright, PG admin is the front end to Postgres SQL, but it's where we'll do most of our work. You will also need to download and install the 2 databases. And those two databases are Community Assist, PG for Postgres, and text certificates. Okay. So, I may show you how to do that in a moment, but they're also here. Video on setting up Postgres and PG admin on Windows. Community Assist database on GitHub. If you click on that, it won't go because you have to click on this to go to the GitHub. And then you'll see that there's a script here. The basic trick for doing this is to turn it into raw, do Control A, Control C, and then in PG admin, which I seem to still have open, you want to create a new database. So I'm going to create a database. I'm going to call it Community Assist 3, because I've got a couple on here, and I'll delete this when I'm done, but I'm going to save that. Oh, I'm not hooked up. I wondered. I need to refresh the server. Or reload it. So let's not do this right now. I haven't touched it for a few days. If you don't do it for a few days, it doesn't come right back. So let's just go back to that. But anyway, so let's go back to the modules. You can get the database there. You can get the text certificate database there. This is a SQL tutorial that is on Postgres itself. This is an overview of what we did in the first day in class. And this is the Google driver with the SQL book again. Then simple select queries. There's two assignments in here, select queries and built-in functions. And there's a video for both of those. And again, within this, you'll see that there is a link to the chapter. Chapter 1 is an overview. Chapter 2 is the one that has the specific select queries. These are the questions that are at the end of the chapter, and I've copied them into Canvas. All I need from this are the SQL. I do not need pictures of the answers. All I need is the SQL itself. I can tell if it worked from the SQL. And again, if you have questions, you can email me or you can go to discussions. Some of the former discussions are still here, and we can add new ones. I left the old ones that were there, but you can add new ones. And I would advise you to help each other and to keep viewing these. You might also look under announcements, because occasionally I do add things to the announcements as I discover something missing. Alright, so let's go back to modules. Is there anything else? This class is pretty easy just to keep working. As I said, there's a Community Assist database, and there is the text certificate database. One of the things that I would suggest is looking at the first chapter, because it describes what those databases are, how they're structured, what they look like. Let's look at the first chapter just briefly. So I'm going to go back to the folder, to the book, go up, and we'll look at the first chapter. So in the first chapter it talks about SQL, what it is, gives a list of the different chapters, not all of the chapters, but where they fit into the different languages. Talks a little bit about how SQL works, talks a little bit about it versus no SQL. Alright. It talks a little bit about the relational model, so if you need a brief review of that, it talks about person, the tables, how things relate, the different kinds of relationships, a little bit about normalization. Okay, so there's a one-to-one relation, one-to-many, many-to-many, and it shows the results of a many-to-many relationship. Okay, then it goes, and this is part that you might want, is Community Assistant Text Certificate. It gives a quick view of each table in the databases. And then it gives you the ERD for that database. Okay, and then you can do text certificate, the same thing, a quick preview of each of the tables. And then the ERD for that database. And then it has a little bit about how to maneuver in PG admin. So that first chapter, I think, will do you a lot of good to read. Because it'll give you sort of an overview. So don't skip it just because the first assignments are in chapter 2. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to cover. Okay, just work on the assignments. Ask me questions as they come up. Don't forget to maybe list questions in the discussion so that other people can help. And I think we will be fine. There's in the book and other materials, it just has a link to the Google Drive too. It also, this is actually useful, there are some SQL examples from the chapters on GitHub. I haven't updated this as I've been doing the book, so they may be a little bit out of date, but it gives you some examples of the SQL from each chapter. Okay. And I'll need to add chapter 9 and 12 there. We're not doing 12, so I just need to add chapter 9, I think. And maybe I'll update those for us soon. Alright, I think I'm going to end the video. Just read the first chapter, read the second chapter, get started. And the first assignment isn't hard. It's stuff you've probably done before. And then you can, as I said, ask questions if you have questions. So, thank you. And here we end.